In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good morning and welcome to Trinity. It's great to be together, exciting to celebrate our faith together, our faith in each other and in God. We need that so much. We need that sense of community these days and just the sense of faith that we can give each other. And on a Sunday morning when we're still waking up, it may not look like that, but we're here as a community because we love each other. We care about each other. We invest in each other. We really have each other's back as much as we can. And of course, we are a church community, and like mentioned in the gospel, we never argue. We never think about being the greatest. We really are here just so unselfishly gathered. But it's quite something to start a conversation on Sunday morning of somebody saying, I'm about to die. You know, that's kind of a party pooper. What's the celebration in that? So to a lesser degree, it is also difficult indeed to talk about servant leadership. The power of claiming that, as Jesus said, you are powerful when you make yourself small. Very countercultural, difficult to deal with. It's a message that in the world of the alpha dog, the alpha brain, the alpha male and gal leadership type, it is shocking to say, well, forget the alpha, go to the omega maybe. Or maybe that's also again an image of power, but you know what I mean. Companies like Starbucks and Marriott have long since the 70s in the publication of Robert Greenleaf's book, an executive at AT&T, about servant leadership, have embraced this servant leadership. Look, we're servants, but because, let's be serious, it's because it makes the money. It's good for getting clients. I don't think that's exactly what Jesus is talking about, but as you can see, a theme recurring to my sermons lately is I really want to tackle the topic of faith. What builds up faith? What strengthens our faith? And today the gospel is actually addressing a very important topic of where churches oftentimes trip over themselves, what undermines faith. And if we don't address that part, I think we may be glossing over an essential point. As you probably know out of personal experience and definitely out of studying history, the church has not always been a hero in servant leadership. Just to give a couple of examples, the Inquisition, just to name one, you know, it's or more recently, King Leopold of Belgium going to Congo with an army of monks and religious people, decimating millions of Congolese. I mean, at the time of the French Revolution, sometimes you wonder, why did the revolution start? It may not be such a well-known fact, but 2/3 of the French territory was owned by the church. And the church was the one raising the taxes, governing that territory. So you can imagine that people, after a while, were angry. You can imagine that people, more recently, like James Baldwin, say, I cannot believe what you say because I see what you do. So, needless to say, we all have our lists of events, of interactions with the church where we feel like it's hypocrisy, and even worse, it is power, it's abuse of power. I was talking with my dad recently about white supremacy, you know, big topic, lots of books about it these days, and he corrected me and said, you know, yes, that can be a racial thing, and definitely in America, and has to be taken seriously, but when I was a child, the type of supremacy was not necessarily racial. We were of the same ethnicity, but the church, he was 10 years old, had no idea what happened, but the next day, the rector came to visit, made a house call to his home, wanted to talk to the parents. What happened? Apparently, my dad had not lifted his cap while passing by the rector. And there was such a lack of disrespect that the rector felt it necessary to come and make a house call and even tell my dad, you can no longer be an acolyte. So that kind of petty power plays was rampant. It was to establish and reaffirm who was in charge. And then you see Jesus saying, whoever welcomes a child welcomes me. And the contrast cannot be starker. It's a miracle my father is still going to church, you know. And it was shocking then in the family that I somehow declared I want to become a priest. It's like, no, I mean, the church is not our friend necessarily. And so what do we do with such a heritage? Because as much as we feel like this is not a popular topic and we don't want to talk about it, and I don't want to burden your Sunday with such heaviness of what the church has done wrong, a major reason why Christianity is no longer popular is not necessarily because people don't believe in God anymore or are not religious or spiritual anymore. Oftentimes, many people who don't go to church are much more spiritual and religious than the people who come to church. I don't want to make this as an accusation towards you. I'm happy that you're here. Disclaimers galore. But you get my gist. The church as an institution has so often organized its own demise. And we have to take that seriously. And the point that is missing is exactly what is being addressed in this gospel. To be honest, Robert Greenleaf, who wrote his book about servant leadership, is exactly taking the gospel of today as his inspiration. And so, what can we learn from what Jesus is saying? Let me first mention the letter to the Philippians summarized it in another way. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. In your relationship with one another, have the same mindset of Christ. He himself made himself a servant. He humbled himself by becoming obedient even to death on the cross. Servanthood. We can see that Jesus is highlighting this as a way to save the church from so many institutional power grabs that deteriorate the core message that we want to get across, is that we're here to increase in each other's life faith, hope, and love, as Paul summarized it in the first letter of the Corinthians. Faith, hope, and love. After 2,000 years, you expect the church, you and I, that we are experts in it. And unfortunately, we're not necessarily. Some of us are, thank God. But what can we do? Jesus says, embrace the position of servanthood. With that, he doesn't necessarily mean that we have to humble ourselves in that kind of humility that at times becomes fake humility, that kind of comes close to being a professional doormat or fostering inferiority. That is not what Jesus is talking about. No, this is indeed a measure of power, but a power of goodness. It's the ability to make yourself small so that the other person that you're meeting can be celebrated, can have a moment of sanctity, that the other person feels blessed, that you surround the other person with the sanctity that the person is, and that you instigate, that you revive in the other as best as possible what is good, what is true, and what is joyful in their heart, in their being. At Chapel on the Green here behind the church, it's an exercise every Sunday to serve the other that you meet, not by patronizing them, not by telling them, I know so many more answers than you have. That's so denigrating. You know what this is already about. But so choosing to serve is not a commitment to meekness, but nor is it this kind of hierarchical service to find out who is more important and trying to say that I'm insignificant. No. Nor is it an excuse to patronize or making a silver lining on how blessed I am. To make oneself small requires the strength and the power that Jesus is offering to make the moment of encounter into a celebration. That you say, it's so wonderful to be together. You are at this moment the most important person. And there in that service, it's a biblical thing that oftentimes is often not mentioned, but It's in Judaism, they call it the tzimtzum. God created the world by pulling in God's belly, making space for the other. If we can be a community like that, where an encounter is transformed into a celebration, where time together means that I am making room for you, that is an act of power, not of weakness. That is an act of lifting the other up, where you really sometimes have to have lots of restraints to say, yes, this person has some characteristics that annoy me, but it is much more important to give this person a chance. And if you recall yourself, everyone that you have met in your life, the ones you remember is the people who made you feel yourself, who celebrated that you are a blessing, and who made space to listen to what you had to say and what you want to dream about. That is the servanthood that Jesus has in mind. This requires indeed an incautious and extravagant hope. It requires not blind but audacious faith in what is yet not seen, and it calls for the most loyal, steadfast, crazy love to the point sometimes that it can hurt. I hope that we take faith more seriously than we already do, if you don't, that we can peel away the layers of entitlement that sometimes are in us, because historically they're part of it, and around us, and that we can commit ourselves to this servanthood that is so empowering that we indeed can become a community where people recognize the expertise of trust, of hope, and love. Amen.